What's good, Modern Retro Show fam? Teacher Eddie back with another ERB reaction. Them epic rap battles of history. So today we're doing directors. We're doing Steven Spielberg and the master of suspense himself, Alfred Hitchcock. So again, I got my first victory last time, kinda. So let's see, who am I choosing in this one? I mean, I like Spielberg, but as far as directors go, I gotta go Hitchcock. Although, if I did have a choice in the matter, I would definitely say Stanley Kubrick. You know, definitely deserves to be in here, but we're going Hitchcock, and we're going Steven Spielberg. So, without further ado, let's get this battle going, and we're going to be breaking them down.
Rap battles of our story. Steven Spielberg versus Alfred Hitchcock!
Picture a child sitting next to a projector, learning from your films to become a much better director. Now picture a $3 billion dream machine who can blockbust all over your crop just to see. Try to do it with me, Alfred, you must be psycho. I'll bring back Jaws and take a bite of your lifeboat.
All right, Steven Spielberg. So, again, I mean, Steven Spielberg is... When I think of Steven Spielberg, I think of storyteller. He uses the camera to tell a story unlike really any director, you know, of his ilk. And from his camera positionings and framings and, you know, the way he utilizes the camera to tell a story, you have to respect Steven Spielberg. But Hitchcock was just on a whole different level, and a lot of the stuff that became, you know, kind of mainstay as far as directors go, whether it be techniques and styling and framing. I mean, that's Hitchcock. But again, as favorite directors would go, I would definitely have to go Stanley Kubrick as my number one. I'll always have a soft spot, of course, as well, for me personally, for Quentin Tarantino. I mean, Tarantino is just, but he hits my nostalgia in all of his movies, but his love for movies is what really puts him, you know, over the top for me. And then I would definitely go with Hitchcock as my number three. But yeah, so Spielberg starts out here.
Picture a child sitting next to a projector, learning from your films to become a much better director.
So he's basically saying that, you know, I grew up watching your stuff, but as I was watching it, all I was doing was realizing how am I going to make this better?
Now picture a $3 billion dream machine who can block.
Picture a $3 billion dream machine. So Spielberg's movies have earned billions upon billions of dollars. I think the $3 billion is just Spielberg talking about his own personal net worth. Because E.T. alone, when E.T. came out when I was a kid, I think it was like 82 or 81 when E.T. came out. And E.T. was the highest grossing movie for like a long time, until I believe it was Jurassic Park in 1993 that then became the highest grossing movie of all time. And both were, of course, Spielberg productions. So just those two movies alone, but also all the movies that Spielberg has produced, not necessarily directed, but has had input into, like Indiana Jones, things of that nature. And of course, DreamWorks was the name of his first production company, DreamWorks, and then there was DreamWorks Animations, and of course blockbusters, which is of course a term for, you know, movies that hit big, you know, in the movie theaters.
Bust all over your crop duster.
Your crop duster scene. So, and of course, you know, bust all over. He's basically saying I could just nut all over your franchise. The crop duster scene is a famous scene in an Alfred Hitchcock movie starring Cary Grant. And there's, you know, because Hitchcock, one of his main things was he was known as the master of suspense, and he could build suspense in a movie until you were just bursting out of your seat. And there is a famous crop duster scene where Cary Grant is being chased down by a crop duster, but just a whole build up to that scene. And, you know, it's one of those scenes along with the shower scene from Psycho, which was also directed, probably Hitchcock's most famous movie is Psycho from 1960 or 61 is when Psycho came out. It was one of his later movies. because Hitchcock had been directing since the 30s. And the crop duster scene, he's saying, hey, your crop duster scene, that's your big, that's your big thing, man. I can nut all over that, man.
Try to do with me, Alfred, you must be psycho. I'll bring back Jaws and take a bite of your life.
You must be psycho. So he's like, you want to step to me? You must be crazy. And referencing the movie Psycho again. He also referenced, what else did he reference?
Try to do with me, Alfred, you must be psycho. I'll bring back Jaws and take a bite.
I'll bring back Jaws and take a bite out of your lifeboat. Jaws was the movie that really put Steven Spielberg on the map. Jaws comes out 1975. Yeah, 1975. So Jaws comes out in 1975 and becomes a monster hit. And if you haven't seen Jaws, definitely see Jaws. It's an amazing movie with an amazing theme and score by John Williams. And John Williams is probably the most prolific composer of the modern era as far as movies go. John Williams scored most of Spielberg's movies, but John Williams wrote the theme to our youth. John Williams wrote, all the big famous themes from Indiana Jones and Jaws and Star Wars and Superman, all the way up through Harry Potter. And Lifeboat was a movie that Alfred Hitchcock directed. It's one of his most underrated movies, actually. If you haven't seen Lifeboat, definitely check it out. I want to say Lifeboat comes out in the early 40s, around 43-ish, somewhere around there. And it's about this group of people, their ship sinks, and they escape into a lifeboat, and then they're stuck in that lifeboat, and you just see how psychologically they all start turning on each other because they're stuck there for a while, and they just basically start plotting their own survivals, and it's just such an amazing movie. But of course, Jaws being about a shark taking a bite out of your lifeboat, right?
Out of your life. I'm always so on top of my game, I get the vertigo. My jet's in the terminal waiting for me to murder ya.
He's just throwing around all like Hitchcock movies and his movies at the same time. So let's see. The Terminal was a movie by Steven Spielberg.
I'm always so on top of my game.
I'm so on top of my game, I get the vertigo. So vertigo is a disorder where if you are up on, a great height and you look down, you get this really bad disorientation. And Vertigo is also a movie by Alfred Hitchcock. One of his most famous movies is Vertigo, starring James Stewart, or Jimmy Stewart, who was kind of like America's dad back in the day, kind of like what Tom Hanks eventually became in our generation.
I get the vertigo, my jet's in the terminal waiting for me to...
My Jet's in the Terminal. The Terminal was a movie starring Tom Hanks, all directed by Spielberg. That comes out, I think, came out like 20 years ago or so, like 15, 20 years ago. Actually, a pretty good movie. And the whole movie takes place in a terminal. This guy who can't enter the country due to, I think it was like documentation reasons. And he basically like sets up a whole life inside the terminal. Very underrated movie. I actually like The Terminal.
I rock the Academy and the DGA. You rock as many Oscars as that schlep Michael Bay.
Ooh. Wow, Michael Bay. I didn't think Michael Bay was going to make an appearance in a video about directors. Michael Bay is like, if movies were cocaine, that would be Michael Bay. Michael Bay is celluloid cocaine. Michael Bay is all explosions. Michael Bay doesn't give a fudge about anything except for like big explosion scenes, giant monsters, and making them millions. But yeah, Alfred Hitchcock never won an Academy Award. I mean, that is just mind-boggling. He did receive the Lifetime Achievement Award, which is almost like they give that one out to like people who never won an Oscar, and they're like, oh man, they're old. Kind of feel bad. Let's give them that Lifetime Achievement Award. Hey, Charlie Chaplin, how you doing? Want to come pick up this Lifetime Achievement Award? And then the same thing with Hitchcock. Hitchcock did win the AFI, which is the American Film Institute Lifetime Achievement Award, and that was viewed as a very, very big honor. I think he was one of the first, if not the first. It was either him or James Cagney who won the first one. But yeah, Steven Spielberg, even though it took him a few years, but Steven Spielberg has won. He won for Schindler's List. Saving Private Ryan. So he definitely has at least 2. But yeah, Hitchcock never won one. And the DGA is the Directors Guild.
Time you're filling up those jowls with 3 steaks and souffle. Check the trade, see me amble to my next big play. I produce cartoons and make games for all age.
Well, that's true. I have heard that about Hitchcock. One of his favorite meals, because he was, an obese man, a portly man. And yeah, he would eat 3 steaks in one sitting and then have dessert afterwards. So he did like them steaks. As far as Spielberg, yeah, cartoons. Aside from making movies, Spielberg, Tiny Toon Adventures, what was the other one? Animaniacs, and my favorite was Pinky and the Brain. So in the 90s, Spielberg had a string of like hit cartoon series and video games as well. So yeah, I mean, he's all across the board creating all that entertainment. But Alfred Hitchcock also had a very successful TV show called Alfred Hitchcock Presents. It was almost like the Twilight Zone, but a little more towards, the suspense side, versus the big twists and, science fiction and all that stuff. But Alfred Hitchcock Presents was on for like a decade on TV, man. So Alfred Hitchcock was no slouch when it came to television as well.
You produce Jimmy Stewart making one of 2 faces. Maybe next time I visit you'll be a bit more gracious. I'll kiss my full moon and just bask in my greatness.
Number 1, how are you gonna hate on Jimmy Stewart? Jimmy Stewart is so wholesome. Jimmy Stewart is everything, son. I love Jimmy Stewart. Harvey's my favorite movie of all times, man. I love Jimmy Stewart. Yeah, he wasn't the most expressive of actors, but then again, look at Robert De Niro. I mean, how many faces has he got? He's got pissed off or extra pissed off. And of course, Kiss My Full Moon. That is a reference, of course, to Kiss My Ass, but also at the same time, one of the most iconic images in movie history is the scene from E.T. With Elliot and E.T. on the bike flying across the sky, and you see the silhouette on the in the moon. And Amblin Entertainment used that, I believe, as like their logo for a long time as well. So that's got a double reference there. And of course, the silhouette of Alfred Hitchcock. So Hitchcock was famous, Alfred Hitchcock Presents, and Hitchcock himself, when the TV show would start, it would be like this, slate, and then all of a sudden this silhouette walks into it, and it's Hitchcock standing as he's standing right now. So that's a reference to that as well.
Was a close encounter of the third kind. But there won't be a pretty ending this time. Half your billion should go to John Williams.
Oh, yes. Yes, Hitchcock coming out swinging. I love it. I love it. I love it. Half your billions should belong to John Williams. Close Encounter of the Third Kind. It's another Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Was a movie about alien invasion and a close encounter of the third kind. And I don't really remember the movie that much. Not one of my favorite Spielberg movies. Came out in the early 80s. I want to say around like 83-ish, somewhere around there. But it is one of his most famous movies, so double reference there, because he's basically saying everything you just said was shit. But yeah, half your billion should belong to John Williams, definitely. I mean, with that, and Steven Spielberg, I'm sure, would probably agree with this. I mean, go back and look at the amount of music that Williams has written. He's aside from Walt Disney, I think John Williams is like the second most nominated, Oscar-nominated person in history. I know John Williams has like over 50 Oscar nominations. I'm not sure how many he's won, but he's won a few. But again, he's written the most iconic themes, from the Star Wars themes, not just the opening, I mean, everything. The Imperial March, the Duel of Fates, even from the prequels, Jaws, Superman, Indiana Jones. I mean, the list goes on and on, like I said, all the way up even through the Harry Potter series. You know, John Williams is absolutely iconic, and his music, I mean, what is Star Wars without that Star Wars theme, right? You know, what is Jaws without that Jaws theme that really just builds on that suspense?
There won't be a pretty ending this time. Half your billion should go to John Williams.
And we have the Hitchcock standing in front of the Bates Motel, which is the setting for the movie Psycho. It's about this young man named Norman Bates, and he's got some mother issues, and he owns the Bates Motel.
Now brace yourself as I reveal my brilliance. I'm the master of suspense, so intense, no defense against Hitchcock once he presents.
Hitchcock has got some flow to him too. He's coming off like a paler version of Biggie Smalls up in here. How you living, Biggie Smalls, in mansions and Benzes? Yeah, so referencing again his own TV show, Once He Presents, he's the master of suspense. That's what Hitchcock was known as. And we already talked about Alfred Hitchcock Presents. And again, he's mimicking the silhouette in the middle of there. That became the trademark of the show.
My skill is enormous, orchestrating brilliant performance. You're more horrible than Megan Fox's acting and transform. Come on! Fish puppets and muppets to stir the fears up.
That's true, man. Megan Fox, I mean, beautiful woman, but acting-wise, and those Transformer movies. I mean, the first Transformer movie, like, okay, that was good. It was fun to see it, you know, your childhood come to life, so to speak. But after that, I don't know what the hell's been going on with the last, 72 Transformers movies, man. Like I said, cocaine on film, man. And using Muppets to stir up fear. So referencing, I mean, the Jaws, if you haven't heard the stories about Bruce, that was the name of the shark. They named it Bruce the shark. Spielberg had so much trouble with that damn shark. And that's the reason you don't get to see the shark until 3/4 of the way through the movie, because Spielberg had to become creative with it because that damn mechanical shark just wouldn't work. And that was actually a blessing in disguise, was building up to seeing the shark finally. And yeah, but Hitchcock's making fun of him for that.
I squeeze screams out of chocolate syrup. I'm the best mamma jammer ever stood behind the camera. Damn it.
The chocolate syrup reference, that is to the shower scene in Psycho. Psycho was filmed in black and white. And one of the big famous scenes is, I'm sorry, but it's been 60 years, so spoilers. But one of the most brilliant things that Hitchcock does in the movie is he kills off the lead actress, pretty much in the beginning of the movie. And you think, he used a big name actress at the time. Her name was Janet Leigh. And he kills her off, barely a third into the movie. And people are like, what the hell? You know, it's almost like you go to see a movie, like Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, right? And you're ready, and you're going to see Jumanji 3, and you're excited because you're going to go and see The Rock, and then The Rock dies in the first 20 minutes of the movie, and you're like, the hell? You know, but that's not even a great example because there's a huge supporting cast there. You know, Anthony Perkins, who played Norman Bates, was an unknown really at the time. He wasn't a big star. You know, he had done a few movies, but he wasn't anybody of any substance. He had to carry a movie by himself, whereas Janet Leigh was a known commodity, and she gets killed off in the shower scene with the famous dun, 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 but actually you never see her get stabbed in any of the frames. Hitchcock just brilliantly uses all these cuts, but for blood, because it was a black and white movie, he just used chocolate syrup because color wasn't there.
And haunt you like the last Indiana.
Give me a Tylenol, stop rhyming, y'all. Alfred, you got no style, dog. I'm the king of dialogue. There's only one movie I know you're from.
Okay, it's Tarantino. It took me a second. All right, Quentin. All right, now we're picking up. The Last Indiana. So this is a reference, of course, to, what was it? Crystal Skull, right? The last Indiana Jones movie. I can't believe they're making another one, too. I mean, Harrison Ford is 932 years old. Really? He should be what the archaeologists are trying to find at this point. He's the ancient. I mean, seriously, but Crystal Skull was awful. Just awful.
Ever stood behind the camera, damage panderers, and haunt you like the last Indiana.
Give me a Tylenol, stop rhyming, y'all. Alfred, you got no style, dog. I'm the king of dialogue. There's only one movie I know you're from, and I've seen more blood in the shower when I stub my toe.
All right. I love the Kill Bill type. Kill Bill is my favorite Quentin Tarantino movie. I even have. Keep it right by me here. I got that Hanzo steel right here, baby. Keep that Hanzo steel always close by. Hattori Hanzo. But I love Kill Bill. So I'm digging that, and he's calling him out for the shower scene because, again, the lack of... So Tarantino's movies are known, you know you're going to get, number one, great dialogue, a lot of cursing, and yes, there's going to be a lot of blood. There will be blood when it comes to Tarantino movies.
You tried to fight in World War I, but couldn't do that. The British Army wouldn't let you join because you were too fat. Look it up.
That is true. Yes, Hitchcock did try to join during World War II, but he was denied for being obese. Yes. I don't know what that has to do with being a great director, though.
It's a true fact. Wikipedia that. Now allow me to attack Stephen the Hack. Due to War of the Worlds of failures, when I label you, it looked like some sellout bullshit Michael Bay would do.
I like how even Spielberg wanted to say something, but then Spielberg was like, yeah, you got me there. War of the Worlds was a big steaming pile of shit, definitely. Let's see, Stephen the Hack. So, I don't know. His attacks against Hitchcock were kind of eh.
Due to War of the Worlds of failures, when I label you, it looked like some sellout bullshit Michael Bay would do.
Yeah. Spielberg's like, all right, fine, you got me. Yeah, War of the Worlds was fucking terrible. What a terrible movie. Michael Bay. Yeah, oh my God, I hope it's not foreshadowing. Please don't put Michael Bay in this fucking video.
Ask anybody.
What's your favorite Sam Jackson part?
No one's gonna say, what's his name from Jurassic Park? Scripts that I write ain't the...
All right. Yeah, Samuel L. Jackson was in the first Jurassic Park movie in 1993. And then the very next year, 1994, Samuel L. Jackson was in Pulp Fiction. And then became kind of like... Whenever Tarantino makes a movie, Sam Jackson has to be somewhere in that movie. But yeah, definitely nobody would ever say, oh man, my favorite Sam Jackson movie? I don't think anyone's saying Jurassic Park.
Clean. When I grip mics, I'm the... from Jurassic Park. Scripts that I write ain't the clean.
Oh my God. My heart is like jumping right now because I know who's coming.
I grip mics, I'm the mean. Quentin Tarantino is a genius. A bad motherfucker from the wallet to the penis.
Oh, fuck yes. Finally.
Genius is a powerful word, but there's no...
Oh, wow. He even looks like Kubrick, man. Oh, wow. Wow. Stanley Kubrick. My opinion, the greatest director of all time, is not even close. 2001: A Space Odyssey, Doctor Strangelove, I mean, Clockwork Orange, even Barry Lyndon, Full Metal Jacket. I mean, he's just, he's everything. But the bad motherfucker line, the last line from Quentin Tarantino, I do have to go back because there is a reference to that. So he's talking about, how his dialogue's not... I mean, Quentin Tarantino's dialogue is fire. Nobody, as far as writer-director, his dialogue is 10 out of 10, man. 12 out of 10. And, of course, it's not the cleanest. He can be the meanest.
Quentin Tarantino is a genius. A bad motherfucker from the wallet.
Bad motherfucker from the wallet to the penis. So, if you've seen the movie Pulp Fiction... the wallet that Jules, Samuel L. Jackson's character, has bad motherfucker written on it. That is actually Quentin Tarantino's wallet. That is his wallet that he put into the movie. So I don't remember the story behind it, but I do remember that is his personal wallet that he used. He didn't have it made for the movie. That's just the movie he had. So he's saying, from the wallet, bad motherfucker, to my penis, of course, trying to say, like, he can sling that dick, but that's not a good look, Quentin. You had some issues with slinging that dick. But then we get the master. Riding in on the tricycle. So the tricycle is homage to the movie The Shining. Oh, another great Stanley Kubrick movie. My favorite Stephen King novel made to film, even though a lot of people say, well, the book is better. Well, you know what? The book is always fucking better. But as far as, Stephen King books made into movies, Shining is my favorite. I mean, you got Stanley Kubrick, you got Jack Nicholson, you got poor Shelley Duvall, who Kubrick pretty much, I think, drove completely insane, like literally insane. That fucking the bathroom scene, he made her do something like 150 takes of that, and literally just broke that poor woman down. But it's a reference to the boy riding the little tricycle in the hallways of the hotel before he meets those horror twins, and the whole corridor gets filled with blood. Ooh, delicious. So as soon as I saw the tricycles, I was like, oh. Oh, and the moon. Why is he on the moon? So this is like a big, huge conspiracy theory. So the people who believe that the moon landing in 1969 was faked, one of the big conspiracy theories is that Kubrick was put in charge of filming the moon landing, because Kubrick had released the year before that, in 1968, a movie called 2001: A Space Odyssey. I mean, it is probably one of the most brilliant, if not the most brilliant science fiction movie ever made. And the effects in that movie, we're talking about almost 10 years before Star Wars. The effects in that movie hold up. And hold up hard, man. It is a visually stunning movie. And a lot of people believe that Kubrick actually filmed the fake moon landing that we saw, Armstrong, one small step from, one giant leap for mankind. Like, all that was filmed on a sound stage, and Kubrick was the one who filmed it. So that's why we see him on the moon.
Genius is a powerful word, but there's no reason to use it unless you're talking about the Kubrick. Then there's really nothing to it. Everything I do is visionary. Every single frame of painting made exactly how I wanna make.
That is true, man. And again, you don't really have to call yourself a genius. It's like people who say, like, oh man, I'm so funny and smart, or oh man, I'm a genius. Like, you don't have to say that about yourself. If you are that, people will say it about you. And Kubrick was a genius. So he's putting down Tarantino by saying, if you were truly a genius, you wouldn't have to call yourself a genius. And you can't use that word unless you're talking about me. And in the movie Barry Lyndon, which came out in the 80s, he did set up his frames to literally look like pieces of art, like paintings that you would see hanging on the wall.
Do another take and get it right 127 times. I'll make you learn to love me on the bar. Jump over violent.
So it was 127 times, yeah. I think that still holds the world record for the amount of takes for a single scene. And it's the scene where Jack Nicholson in The Shining, he uses the axe to break down the door, and then he peeps his head in, and here's Johnny. And Shelley Duvall is standing there, scared. He made her film that 127 times in a row until she was literally broken down. And a lot of people, it's easy to say, a lot of people look at Kubrick as being at times a very sadistic director, but Hitchcock was the same, especially with the movie The Birds. I forget the lead actress's name, but he put her through some traumatic shit in that movie to get the reaction that he wanted. He used actual birds in some of the scenes to literally scare the shit out of her and lock her in a room with them. And she would have cuts and bruises by the time she got out. But Hitchcock and Kubrick were like those type of You know, they wanted a specific emotion, a specific reaction, and they knew how to mentally break down their actor. And that's why a lot of times there were actresses who never wanted to work with Hitchcock again. And with Kubrick, it was the same thing. And they usually did it with actresses. So they were, you know, he wasn't pulling that shit with like Jimmy Stewart or Cary Grant. So it is kind of, you know, it is a black mark on their directing styles. But also Drop the Bomb. So Dr. Strangelove, it's Dr. Strangelove or How I Learned to Love the Bomb. And the whole big thing there, and that Dr. Strangelove is my favorite Kubrick movie. If you see one Kubrick movie, please make sure it's Dr. Strangelove. It is a fucking brilliant movie. And the whole movie is about the whole fear, because we're talking about the movie comes out right as the Cuban Missile Crisis is happening in 1962, and people are terrified about atomic warfare, and the whole movie is about how easily a plane carrying atomic and nuclear weapons can go rogue, so to speak. So the whole movie is about, you know, how I learned to love the bomb and stop worrying. And the great Peter Sellers delivers one of the greatest 3 performances. He plays 3 different characters in the movie, and it's such a great movie. So that's the Ultraviolet Rhymes, Dropping the Bomb.
Rhyme like clockwork, make you all hurt. Beat Spielberg, The Color Purple.
Clockwork, a reference to the Clockwork Orange. I'm gonna beat you like clockwork, Clockwork Orange, like The Color Purple. So of course, you beat somebody saying, I'm gonna make you black and blue, you're gonna be looking like The Color Purple. The Color Purple was a movie directed in the mid-'80s by Steven Spielberg as well, dealing with racism. It starred Oprah Winfrey, and it's actually a good movie. I'm sorry, I mean this one, because I am a cinephile. I love movies so much. I am a movie buff. I love the history of movies. I love everything about movies. So I'm sorry if this one's coming out a little longer than usual, but I'm just nerding out over this, man. You got Tarantino, you got Kubrick, you got Hitchcock, you got my top 3 right there.
AI is the worst wasted potential since the Ninja Turtle.
AI, ooh, AI is a heartbreaker of a movie. Kubrick begins, it's called AI, for artificial intelligence. And it had the potential to be an absolutely brilliant movie. Kubrick begins directing the movie, but he really couldn't handle the visual styles that he wanted for the film, so he asked Spielberg for help with the movie. Kubrick dies. And Spielberg, a lot of people feel Spielberg really delayed doing his part in the movie, because most people knew that Kubrick was dying at the time. And Spielberg then takes over the helm of the movie and basically guts the entire vision of the movie. And you could actually see when you're watching it, it's almost like you're watching 2 completely different movies that were kind of, you know, pasted together with duct tape. And I've always lost a bit of respect for Spielberg for doing that, because AI could have been an absolutely brilliant movie, and parts of it are still absolutely amazing to watch, but you could definitely tell which parts are Kubrick and which parts are Spielberg. And the Ninja Turtles reboot was absolute hot garbage, but that was fuck. I know what's coming.
That's enough. I've heard enough crap from all of you. When I come down there and show you what a real star can do, I swoop low with the telephoto. No Bruckheimer, I work solo. If there's one thing I've learned, bitch, this game is about mother.
I fucking hate you so much, Michael Bay. All right, look. I like The Rock. Not Dwayne Johnson, The Rock. The movie The Rock with Sean Connery and Nicolas Cage. And I think Ed Harris was in the movie, and that came out in the late 90s. I liked The Rock. The Rock was a great movie. But aside from that, everything Michael Bay puts out is hot garbage. And this is right. It's all about motherfucking money for Michael. Michael Bay doesn't give a fuck about a movie making sense. He doesn't care about directorial styles and substances. It's all about, let's make this the biggest fucking explosion of a movie that we can make. Let's put in crazy fucking cuts. Let's put in ginormous fucking robots. Let's get all that shit in there. And look, it works for him, because apparently the fucking Transformers movies still make like $800 million fucking dollars, even though I can't get through the first 20 minutes of them. I mean, you know, the last like fucking 50 that he's done have been fucking terrible. But Bruckheimer, definitely, if Michael Bay is movie cocaine, at least Bruckheimer was kind of like, yo, have a cup of coffee, son. Let's bring it down. It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay.
Fucking money! I make that dollar, y'all motherfucking money! Even make Mark Wahlberg make some motherfucking money!
Yeah, Mark Wahlberg's been in a bunch of Michael Bay movies. I set up shop and got a few drops.
Got a few drops of that got milk money. Rose to the rock.
That's right. I forgot. The got milk. If you're too young to remember, but there was a whole huge campaign. They were trying to promote milk, and they had all these ads for got milk, and got milk was one of the biggest like promotions back in the day in the 90s. And even into the 2000s, I think. And that's how he got his start. Those fucking got milk ads. I forgot about that. Rose to the Rock. And yeah, The Rock is the one good Michael Bay movie. Like, I like that. But again, you got Sean Connery, you got Ed Harris, you got Nicolas Cage, you got like this amazing cast. How do you fuck that up? I mean, you really got to work hard to fuck that one up.
Now I got that socks made of silk money. I ain't got that guilt money. I don't give a fuck. I take my checks to the bank and I sign them with my love. I give the people what they love. All the critics say I'm evil. Got no time to read reviews while I'm working on the sequel. Got a gift from above. In the eyes of an eagle. When it comes to blowing up, no director is my equal.
Definitely not Michael Bay. That's all I'm gonna say. Get the fuck out of here with that shit, homie. Fuck you and your fucking movies, man. You just, I swear to God, it's just the fact that I don't know why his movies make so much money. They're just cocaine fucking riddled night terrors as far as I'm concerned, man. That shit destroys brain cells. Who won? Well, I mean, Spielberg came out. He had a couple of good hits on Hitchcock. I know I picked Hitchcock for this one, and Hitchcock did well, man. Hitchcock had some steam. Hitchcock had a good flow to him. Tarantino, I think, had the best flow out of all of them, though. But, man, I gotta go with Kubrick. I really gotta go with Kubrick, man. Kubrick broke that shit down. Because it's definitely not fucking Michael Bay, man. Michael Bay can get the fuck, man. Michael Bay can go and choke on a bag of dicks as far as I'm concerned, man. He doesn't even belong in this motherfucking conversation, man. Michael Bay, man. Get the fuck out of here, man. That's like talking about, man, who's the greatest basketball player of all times? You bring in like fucking Michael Jordan, you bring in like Kareem, you bring in like Wilt Chamberlain, and then all of a sudden you drop like Muggsy Bogues in there. I mean, look, we all loved Muggsy Bogues back in the day, but he ain't in the conversation for greatest of all time. Man, get your ass on out of here before you get smacked down, son. But yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed this one. This one was absolutely fantastic because it's a subject that I love movies. I mean, I grew up watching all them old black and white movies, the Warner Brothers movies, the old gangster movies, even like Charlie Chaplin, Buster Keaton, silent films I loved, man. And again, I just devoured everything about movies, the history. I would read so much about it. And again, this one was so much fun. I'm glad I held out on this one because it was definitely a treat. I loved it. And again, leave those suggestions. Continue that conversation on the Discord. We got an ERB channel on there. And of course, much love to everybody. And much love, of course, as always, to our Patreons who support the show, keep things running here. I've been Teacher Ready. I'll see you in the next one, fam. And as always, we're shouting out our Patreons who keep the things running here, starting with the Chancellors. Biker Dude, Wouter, Chris, Jumpin' with E, Phoenix, The Principals, James R, Spacey Doodle, Elena G, Ulrike, Nick, Lauren, Clement, Vijandra, Moody Kakati, Alan, Chad, Alex, Baba Mama, Aaron Shepard, Big J, Jobina, Christopher, Dallas Eager, Freeman, Nathan, Rasmus, A Viking Nerd, and Kevin G. I've been Teacher Ready, and I'll see you next time.